As tensions arise over the Ukrainian conflict, the possibility of escalation between Russia and NATO grows ever more alarming. Now, Vladimir Putin's latest warning on the use of long-range missiles by Ukraine has sent a clear message to the West. The grim question, of course, is this: how close are we to a potential catastrophic nuclear standoff? Take a look at this report.
The threat of a nuclear conflict between Russia and NATO looms larger each passing day. As the West continues to arm Ukraine while choosing to ignore Russia's red lines, the Russian president has issued a stark warning.
If this decision is made, it will mean nothing less than the direct participation of NATO countries, the United States, European countries, in the war in Ukraine. This is their direct participation. And this, of course, signifies changes in the very essence, the very nature of this conflict. We will make appropriate decisions based on the threat that will be created for us.
Putin's ultimatum comes even as Britain's PM Keir Starmer is meeting US President Joe Biden in Washington to decide whether to let Kiev fire Western-provided long-range missiles into Russia. UK has already said it has no problem with Ukraine using its Storm Shadow missiles. The ball is now in Biden's court. West's dilemma is equally stark. NATO's deep involvement in the conflict, from intelligence sharing to weapons supply, has already blurred the lines of engagement. The pressure to support Ukraine is immense, especially as its front lines show signs of collapse. But the escalation is a dangerous game of chicken. If Russia doesn't retaliate, it risks appearing weak, potentially emboldening further NATO aggression. If it does respond, the world is pushed closer to a direct NATO-Russia conflict, a scenario that could quickly spiral into nuclear war. In this high-stakes game, there are no winners, only degrees of loss. It's time for both Russia and NATO to step back from the brink, prioritize diplomacy, and remember the lessons of history. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
All right, now to give us a sense of what is happening at this moment, we're being joined by our correspondent, Susan Tehrani, who's joining us live from New York. Susan, the American President Joe Biden is meeting with the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, where the two leaders will discuss about green signaling, the use of long-range missiles by Ukraine. What are you picking up at your end? How likely is the American President Joe Biden likely to ratify this?
Yeah, so it's important to note that the United States had already given the go-ahead for Ukraine to go into Russian territory with its missiles. However, this is going to be a lot longer. The range is going to be a lot longer should President Biden agree with this measure. We're not expecting anything today, which is a Friday, but very soon U.S. officials say that the president is going to make that decision. Meanwhile, Britain and its new prime minister here in the U.S. for the first time since becoming Prime Minister Starmer wants to get the go-ahead with this Shadow missile that's from the UK for that to also be able to go deep into Russian territory. The reason he needs U.S. permission is because a lot of the parts for that missile, the Shadow Storm, is built here in the United States as well. So you kind of see this alliance between the U.S. and the UK. However, as you mentioned earlier in the news that just broke, you have officials in Poland and in Germany who are very concerned that this is going to be very escalatory, considering the warnings from Vladimir Putin.
And also, that statement by Vladimir Putin where he said that if long-range missiles are used by Ukraine against Russia, then this would be clearly tantamount to the NATO military alliance being at war with Russia. How's the United States responding to this statement by Putin?
The United States has heard similar statements in the onset of the war, in the very beginning, when allied nations provided Ukraine with missiles. They said that, Russia was threatening to say that if any other country helps Ukraine, then they're a party to the war and whatnot. It's a very sensitive situation. There are many within the Biden administration themselves who don't think this is a good idea for President Biden to give the go-ahead. But considering the fact that he's often been criticized for not doing enough and doing just enough to keep Ukraine in the war but not have it win, he's in a very peculiar situation. But it's also important to note that the timing is also very curious. There's only 2 months left to the upcoming elections. And if Biden does this, then, a lot of questions need to be asked about the direction of the country.
Absolutely, indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Susan Tehrani, for joining us and getting us all those insights there. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.